Hey guys, I've been gone a while, but I'm still up to my fishy things. One of them being hatching and raising Corydoras babies. I'm no expert when it comes to raising fry or baby fish. And it's not perfect, but I managed to have an 80% survival rate, even though it was my first time. I didn't really use any special equipment either, and only what I had on hand. Since what I did worked so well, I thought I would share how I raised them, the troubles I had, and what I learned from the mistakes I made. Also, I'll show you the development of the babies. They look so different when they're young. So let's get into it. So I'll let you guys know, none of this was planned, and it was all done in the spur of the moment. I just walked in one day and, well, they were doing things, as they do. And like Corys do, they eat their own eggs, so I had to watch carefully and pull almost immediately after they laid. I had a few different options. Put them either in a breeder box, which I didn't have, a different tank, or some sort of container. I had a produce container that had mushrooms in it previously. I rinsed it off and gave it a good scrub under water. Hot water, and no soap. I then dried it off and filled it with water from the parent's tank and put the eggs in. I secured the container to the side of the aquarium with a clip and put an air stone inside to keep the water circulating. If the eggs were on leaves, I trimmed the leaf off the plant and put the whole thing in the container. If the eggs were on the glass, then I gently rolled the eggs off with my finger and placed them in a container on the side. Now, because I was being extra careful, I separated the total amount of eggs I collected in half. Half stayed in the container floating in the parent's tank, while the other half went into a spare 10-gallon tank that was being used as a plant grow-out tank. Both aquariums had identical parameters. I watched the eggs like a hawk, checking up on them every single day, every single hour almost. I always had my camera on them. While the eggs were doing their thing, I changed the water in the container with a syringe every day with water from the parent tank. While in the 10-gallon, I lowered the water halfway and did a 50% water change every other day. Both tanks are set to 24 degrees Celsius or 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and with these temperatures, they hatched in 4 days' time. For the first 2 days, I didn't feed them because they have to consume their yolk sac, which you can see here. I also continued doing the water changes with the same amount of frequency. While the babies worked on their yolk sacs, I took this time to work on hatching some baby brine shrimp for them to eat. Everything that wasn't consumed in 2 hours was sucked up in a syringe during a water change. Doing this was actually scary because I was scared to suck up the little babies. And honestly, I lost one this way. I mistook it for detritus and sucked it up into the syringe, so be super careful. I fed the babies twice a day, usually when I got up and again when I went to bed, doing water changes during the day between feedings. I continued this for 3 weeks, feeding a combination of crushed pellets, flakes, and live baby brine shrimp. When they reached 3 weeks old, I moved the babies in the container with the ones already in the 10-gallon. They grew up quick and are too big for this container now. I poured some water slowly from the 10-gallon into the container, just in case, then released them by pouring them in rather than using a net. This is when I gave them their first taste of frozen bloodworms, although I had to pick out the tiniest ones for them to eat. The other ones were just too big. I also started trying them with some other foods, like some bottom feeder pellets that I had. This is where I made a mistake. I should not have fed them those bottom feeder pellets. Little did I know at the time, but it would make their little bellies swell to the point where they were floating. Unfortunately, those with swollen bellies rarely recovered, and that's where most of my losses came from. Poor little dudes. I stopped feeding that food after a couple days. It took me that long to make the connection. And then, no more swollen bellies. Now the little ones are really starting to look like mini adults, and they have that Cory wiggle now. After this, they just continued to grow bigger and stronger, and I had no more losses. They grew and ate. Oh my goodness, did they ever have an appetite. Even more piggies than their parents. Here they are, 7 months after hatching, and off to the local fish store. 32 of them went, and I kept 5 for myself. Bye-bye, little dudes. My first time raising fry was super fun and surprisingly easy. It was so interesting seeing their shape and look when they first hatch. That yolk sac is so big compared to them. So yeah, I'm not an expert at all. I followed some information I found online when I was unsure and did my best to keep up with water changes and clean up after they ate. I'm actually a little proud of myself for being able to do this. So, if I can do it, I'm sure you can too. For now, enjoy those Cory wiggles. Until next time, guys. See ya!